The following show is brought to you by Broken Eggs Media, your source for extremely satisfying syndication. Faster performance, lower bandwidth costs, proven solutions for content delivery. Cashfly.com. Stop hosting. Start delivering.
Welcome one and all to the Quake Wars podcast. This is the debut episode, When It's Done. I am your host Imran, and with me today from across the pond are Sash and Ash.
Welcome.
Hello.
Well, it's been a long time in the pre-production/planning phase, but I feel that now is a great time for us to get to the Quake Wars podcast off the ground and ready to rock. Before we get in too deep, though, I think it'd be a good idea for us to take a step back and talk a little bit about who we are and provide some brief introductions. Sash?
Yep, thanks Imran. Well, I play a wide range of games, FPSs mostly, Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2, Medal of Honor, and most recently Armed Assault, which I'm enjoying very much. I think I like FPSs so much because there's a lot of teamwork and all soldiers have the same goal, work towards it. Well, I think Quake Wars will be different to other FPSs because they'll be providing a different battle all the time with, added objective-based missions while in multiplayer. A bit about my background: I'm from the community named Sir, which I've been a part of for around 2 years and hope to stay on for a very long time.
Well, there isn't much to say about me. However, there isn't enough time to tell you everything, so here's the lowdown on me. I've not been involved with Broken Eggs for too long, but when it gets up and running, I'll hopefully be also doing the Crisis podcast. I'm a big FPS shooter like Sash, started with Medal of Honor, moved to COD, and then finally to Battlefield. From time to time indulge myself in RTSs, such as Company of Heroes, and of course Command & Conquer. I'm 19, from good old England. I didn't like the idea of Quake Wars originally, but with more media released, I have warmed to it, and I'm extremely anxious to play it now. Imran, share with us facts about the man behind the voice.
The man behind the voice, how eloquent of you. Well, there's really not much for me to say about myself. I've been involved with Broken Eggs Media, the parent company of this podcast, since around the launch of the WoW podcast, and I've had Quake Wars on the podcast on the up-and-coming list for a good long time now. I'm a huge fan of first-person shooters, but if a good RTS turns up, mostly of the historical fare, sort of like, the Total War series, then I'll be sure to give it a good go-around. In terms of first-person shooters, I started up when I was very, very, very young and played Wolfenstein 3D. That being said, I played it. I don't really remember much of it, but I remember playing it. But my first real, distinct, solid memory of an FPS came from Doom 2. And, of course, as soon as Battlefield 1942 came around, especially the Desert Combat mod, I became wholeheartedly enveloped in the large-scale multiplayer shooters area. In terms of the Quake series, I never really got into Quake 1, but when Quake 2 came along, I played through it, loved it. I also got a lot of mods for it, but I spent an even longer amount of time on the Quake 3 mod scene. I made the switch to mods early, particularly mods like Urban Terror and Bid for Power. Yes, the Dragon Ball Z mod. I'm sorry.
Sheesh, are you done yet?
Fine. Let's just keep going. Before we get to the actual show, I just wanted to throw out a disclaimer. I am on the beta for Enemy Territory Quake Wars, but because of the NDA I agreed before joining the beta, I will not be able to provide you with any content that has not been publicly revealed by id and or Splash Damage. This includes screenshots and gameplay videos taken from the beta, so if you're looking for any gameplay videos, I'm afraid you have to wait for the game to come out, or maybe a public beta. With that being said, let's move on to the show and hit up the latest news.
Well, Total Quake Wars has reported that a new print ad has been published in the Games for Windows magazine, and the ad shows some pretty spiffy artwork of a Strogg infiltrator, with the Strogg army to the left and the GDF army to the right.
Wow, wouldn't mind having a piece of art on the poster on my wall. Some pretty good artwork here.
Yeah, it's too bad we've already seen all these screenshots, and they're really pushing the big, glorious future for online gaming testimonial. It's all over the place.
Oh, come on! Press like that is a marketing team's dream. And another marketing team's dream is the newly released version 2.0 of the ETQW fan site kit, featuring images, backgrounds, audio clips, and other materials that you would want for your Quake Wars theme website, but would probably be too lazy to implement.
Yep, and in other news, there's a post on the official ET Quake Wars community website with John Maleficus, Dean, an id programmer who discusses designing bots so that the user can have the most fun. It's not overly technical, but it does give insight on how the bots will behave, like always trying to support the player both in terms of providing covering fire, but also listening to requests for supplies or emplacements.
I don't know if you would call it a gameplay hint, but the article also mentioned that you can knife the body of your opponent when you're waiting to be revived, just like in the Enemy Territory Wolfenstein one. So, if you want to prolong his humiliation while he's on the battlefield and screaming out for a medic, you can go ahead and stab him. And then if you're a Strogg, you can go ahead and use him as a spawn point. You know, I wish this feature were in Battlefield 2. I can't think of all the times where I just wanted to, after I capped a flag, just take my AK and shoot the U.S. Marine right in the face. But, sadly, it's not going to be in that game. But it may be in this game.
Sadly, there is one more piece of news that will probably hit the hardest. Quake Wars has once again been delayed, this time being pushed back from its June release date to sometime within the July-August window. This is surely sad news for all, but id and Splash have always maintained a, and I quote, when it's done policy for the game.
Just to offer a bit of insight, the game is in a closed beta, and as the builds have been progressing, I can confidently say that they've been getting better and better and better. So they're definitely getting close to a release quality game, and there's nothing wrong with, I guess, the coding of it. But what they do need to do is work on the balancing, and that's what they're doing right now. And you know, who knows what this window could actually open up room for an open beta. And for id and Splash Damage, I can't see a better opportunity for them. Get the bugs out of the final product and give people a chance to play the game for free. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, give me a pen and paper. Well, that's it for news, but if you guys have any more news to send our way, or want to comment and talk about some of the news stories discussed in the show, feel free to visit QuakeWarsPodcast.com and head over to the forums there. If you want to just talk to us directly, you can send us an email at contact@QuakeWarsPodcast.com. Your message will be sent to every host.
Now it's time for the very first edition of our possibly regular radar segment, where we profile and discuss some of the happenings in the ETQW community. Now, the game isn't out yet, but that doesn't mean eager Quake Wars fans are frothing at the mouths and typing away on message boards all across the internet.
Like Imran said, the game isn't out yet, so we've decided to take some time and profile some of the community websites that you may frequent in your undying quest for great Quake Wars content.
Yes, finally, after months of constantly pressing F5 or clicking refresh, the official Quake Wars community site has emerged. You can find this at www.enemyterritory.com and click on the community tab. You'll probably find a lot of new fans here, and if you're looking for a better established community, you may want to check out some of the other sites we've profiled. That being said, the official Quake Wars community is probably the best place for you to be able to get exclusive content directly from it.
And another community website that everyone should be familiar with is Total Quake Wars. Total Quake Wars, brought to you by the nice folks who brought you Total BF2 and Total 2142, is a really active community with great people and even better gamers. Additionally, the new launch of the Total Gaming League is sure to provide Total fans with bloodthirsty competition that only Quake Wars can provide. Totally.
If English isn't your dialect of choice, then there's nothing wrong with visiting planetquakewars.net, a website dedicated to servicing the Quake Wars community from the land of the Wiener Schnitzel, Rammstein, Bratwurst, and the Autobahn. This site features all of your favourite news updates and even throws in a contest here and there to keep the fans happy.
Well, there we go. That segment was just a little bit of the community that you can check out with Quake Wars, and we'll be sure to profile more great community sites as the show progresses. So every week leading up to the release of Enemy Territory Quake Wars, we here at the Quake Wars podcast want to introduce you to some of the classes, weapons, technology, features, and whatever that you want to know about ETQW.
Yeah, that's right, and what better way to start with than with the plain old default soldier class, the GDF soldier. Ash has got the official description from the Quake Wars community.
I have? Oh yeah, I know I put it somewhere. Let me just take a look. Oh, here we go. Soldier, skilled with heavy weapons and explosives. The soldier is your basic assault unit. He's best suited for attacking roles or defending teammates while they complete key objectives.
Equipped with either an assault rifle, a shotgun, a rocket launcher, or a general-purpose machine gun, the soldier class has the ability to adapt to the combat environment and pick the right weapon for the appropriate surroundings. Soldiers also come standard with high explosive charges, very useful in blowing up buildings or emplacements and absolutely vital for objectives that require detonation. It's important to know that the soldier class is the only class that has these charges, so your team needs to have some grunts in the battlefield in order to stay in the game.
Yeah, basically soldiers are going to be the most common types of units you'll see because of their multiple weapon loadouts. With the rocket launch for vehicles, the assault rifle for medium distant attacks, the shotgun for deadly close encounters, and the GPMG for well. Making strong Swiss cheese, of course. The soldier class may not be the most exciting class to be, but the weapons still make it considerable choice. I heard Swiss cheese tastes pretty good.
Well, I wouldn't like it anyway. Too mechanical for me. I prefer good old regular Swiss cheese. Thank you very much.
Maybe stick it with that bratwurst I mentioned earlier.
Ooh, the
and have a nice
Schnitzel.
little sandwich.
Delicious. Well, what's also delicious is a great platform for you to host your content quickly and efficiently. And for that, you could look no further than Cashfly.com. With its breakneck upstream speeds, Cashfly is sure to please and impress your clients with the need to get content delivered over the web. Cashfly's desktop architecture ensures that the Strog Invasion and all other shows here at Broken Eggs Media are delivered through maxing out your internet connection. Check out Cashfly.com at CACHEFLY.com to stop hosting your websites and start delivering them to your customers.
And if you would like to support the Quake Wars podcast, or if you have any feedback that you wish to provide, please dig us or leave us a comment at www.digg.com. The hosts do read all the comments on the dig pages, so your voices will be heard.
And if you want to get really up close and personal with the hosts, but obviously not so close that we have to take out a restraining order, drop us a line at contact@quakewarspodcast.com, or if email's not your thing, post on the Quake Wars podcast forums by visiting quakewarspodcast.com/forums.
Well, that's it for episode 1. I know it's a short episode, but most of the episodes that we're going to be having are going to be kind of short up until the actual release of the game. So be sure to come back next week where we're going to have more Quake Wars content for you, or as much as we can out of the community. And if you want to talk about what you want on the show, please send us an email or visit our forums like Ash mentioned earlier. And that's it, guys. See you next week as you continue waiting for the Strog Invasion.
I didn't like the idea of Quake Wars originally, but with more media released, I've warmed to it, and each...
One, two.
One more time.
Yeah.
There we go.
Alright, remember to do the countdown, 3, 2, 1, and let's give it a little bit of pause between each one.
I didn't like the idea of Quake Wars originally. Quake Wars. Go again.
Countdown!
3, 2, 1. I didn't like the idea of... Right, focus. Okay.
So every week leading up to the release of Enemy Tory Quake War... Enemy Tory!
Enemy Tory! Enemy Tory Quake
It's like when a
Wars!
villain has an inventory. It's my Enemy Tory!
What? Well,
Is that a new game?
So with every week leading to the release of ETQW, we here at the Quake Wars podcast want to introduce some of the classes, weapons, Alright, let's do this again.
Brick wall meet my head.
So, every week leading up to the release of Enemy Tertiary... I failed at this show.
Tertiary?
Enemy Tertiary? Enemy Primary, Secondary, and Tertiary Quake Wars.